morning, everyone. Let me start by asking you a very simple question. Have you ever been told that the way you think, learn, or feel is wrong just because it's different? Maybe you daydream too much. Maybe you can't sit still. Maybe loud noises feel like thunder in your head. Or reading a page takes you 3 tries. Does that make you broken or just different? Today, I would like to talk about a word that is becoming more visible but still widely misunderstood. Neurodivergent. Neurodivergent. And I want to ask a bold questions. Is neurodivergent a disability? Let's start with the basics. Neurodivergence is a term that describes people whose brain function differently from what the society has historically defined as normal. This includes people with autism, attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, Tourette syndrome, gifted, and so on. This term itself is not a diagnosis. It's a perspective, a lens through which we understand cognitive differences not as deficits, but as a part of a natural human diversity. Think about that. We accept people with different eye color, heights, languages, and cultures. But why do we struggle so much to accept different ways of thinking? Here's the catch. When society is built for neurotypical people, those who don't fit in the mold are often left behind. And that's when neurodivergence is labeled as disabled. Not because of the brain itself, but because of the environment. Let's take a look at the numbers. In year 2024, we have 736,607 individuals as registered as disabled people, or known as Orang Kurang Upaya, OKU, through the Department of Social Welfare, Malaysia. From the Ministry of Education's data, we have 132,264 were identified as special educational needs students, or murid berkebutuhan pendidikan khas, MBPK. Among them, 113,264 were identified as learning disabilities, conditions like ADHD, autism, Down syndrome, intellectual disability, and specific learning disorders such as dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia. Now, here's the important part. Many of these conditions fall under what we call neurodivergence, brains that learn, feel, or process the world differently. This aren't just statistics. Behind every number is a real story. A boy who gets scolded daily because for not sitting still. A teenager who gets bullied because they speak or behave differently. Parents who are blamed for their child's differences. Families who feel exhausted, isolated, and judged. Some, in tragic cases, even broken. So, the question we must ask today isn't how many are neurodivergent, but how many more are still being misjudged or left behind. Let me share about a story of a boy that I know. When he was young, he struggled with writing. Today, we will call it dysgraphia. He also found it hard to make friends. During recess, he often sat alone under a tree. And homework, it never got done. Almost every day, he was being punished. The teachers called him lazy. They made him run around the school field. They sent him to the principal's office. They even caned him. Then they embarrassed him in front of the entire school during the assemblies. But there was something special about him. He was brilliant at mathematics. He saw numbers differently. In fact, his math teacher once did something unforgettable. He invited this boy, yes, this same boy, to stand in front of the class and teach all his classmates to solve the complex problems. He used this creative mind to design buildings when he worked as a builder. When computers first entered the market, he spent nearly all his savings to buy one. It was very expensive at the time. And suddenly, the things that once held him back, his writing struggle solved. He immersed himself into books and electronic devices. Many years later, the same boy became a general manager in a well-known Japanese company. You see, this boy didn't need to be fixed. What he needed is to find his very own way. Do you know who he is? Yes, this boy is my father. He always reminds me, it is okay to be different. And being different is not a weakness, it's a strength. And sometimes, all it takes is for one person to see beyond the struggle and recognize the potential. When we label someone as disabled, we often see what these people can't do. But neurodivergent individuals, they can think differently. They see patterns others miss, empathize deeply, and imagine possibilities others haven't considered. History is filled with such mind. Albert Einstein, who likely had dyslexia, Temple Grandin, who is a renowned scientist with autism, Bill Gates, who admitted to be struggling with ADHD during his childhood, and here we have Dato' Alif Zulkifli Laris as one of the most famous entrepreneurs in Malaysia with dyslexia. Are these people disabled, or are they simply different? We must begin to understand that neurodivergence is not a deficit, it's a difference. And differences, when embraced, drive innovation, creativity, and human progress. As a policymaker, a lecturer, and a dyscalculia tutor, I believe change must start now, not just in the future. In year 2024, my role was the virtual leader for inclusive education in Malaysia. I have had the chance to work with others to improve the policies and make our education system more welcoming for children with different learning needs. But real change doesn't happen in just policy papers or meeting rooms alone. It happens in classrooms, in families, and in the hearts of people who are willing to listen. This talk is not just to inspire, it means to activate. In my work with children who have dyscalculia, I've seen how simple changes, a new way of teaching, or just a little bit of patience can help a child to feel valued and seen. Transformation doesn't have to wait for future system overhaul. It begins today when teachers choose to adapt instead of label, when a parent listens without judgment, when policies are written with real-life experiences in mind. This is how we move towards a better now, by turning awareness into action and by making space for all kinds of minds. Not someday, but today. So, what does towards a better now mean in the context of neurodiversity? It means designing systems that are inclusive by default, not exception. It means universal design in education, flexible teaching approaches, multiple ways to demonstrate learning, and classroom environments that supports all types of brains. It means inclusive workplaces that value neurodivergent thinking, offer clarity, structure, and flexibility. It means a shift in mindset from how do we make them to fit in to how do we make room for everyone to belong. Because here is the truth. When we design for the margins, it benefits everyone. A ramp helps wheelchair users, but also parents with strollers. Speech to text helps those with dyslexia, but also anyone who multitasking. Inclusive education helps neurodivergent learners, but it makes learning better for all. So, is neurodivergent a disability? Sometimes, when a society makes it so. But it doesn't have to be. We have the power to reframe, redesign, and reimagine, not just for the neurodivergent, but for a world where differences is not feared, but valued. Towards a better now means recognizing that the question isn't whether someone is disabled, it's whether our systems are. As Alexander then he just said, when a flower doesn't bloom, we will fix the environment where it grows, not the flower. Let's build a work that works for all kinds of minds, not just inclusion, but what we need is transformation. Thank you.